All right, my friends, welcome back to another episode of the Building on an Island series. We're up to episode 10. We got some cool stuff going on. We're working on sidewall cedar shingles. And I got to tell you, I've never done a house with cedar shingles. I am fascinated by this process. And every time I've been on a job with Wade, I'm asking questions like I'm some 10-year-old kid asking his dad, how, why, what, where? There's so many cool things happening with sidewall shingles. The other thing that's going on in this episode is Dan, who's been working on the island for many, many years, one of the WKP project managers, is going to give us a history of how they even power the island. This is a great episode. Episode 10, Building on an Island. Let's get going.
Hi there, I'm Wade Paquin with Building on an Island. Today we're going to be heading out to the job site where we finally have our sidewall shingles on site. Our electrician is starting in a few days, and we're going to talk about how this island gets its power from those 5 windmills.
The Building on an Island series is sponsored by Anderson Windows and Doors, the Unico System, Key Link Fencing and Railing, and Legend.
Well, welcome back to the job site, guys. We've got a few things happening here on site today. We've got a 2-man crew continuing with our exterior PVC trim details, and we've got a 3-man crew starting to install our cedar shakes. Those PVC trim details right now are kind of the final touches, if you will, on the exterior trim. So if you look at the house, you see this horizontal, what I call banding detail, right? It's separating the lower level from the upper level with this flared sidewall shake detail with that crown molding underneath it. So what that's allowing us to do is essentially start our shingle work from that point up. We can't start our shingle work on the first floor yet because we have a lot of stone veneer wrapping around the lower level of the house here. That stone veneer needs to go on first. It needs to get capped with that bluestone detail we talked about actually in the last episode. Then we can flash that and start our shingle course. So to keep the exterior moving, we're starting where we can, which is that upper detail. So we've got this 2-man crew finishing up the crown molding, the flashing detail on top of that. And actually, why don't we head up on the stage and get a closer look at that? All right, so we're up here on the staging now. You can see this nice kind of built out soffit, crown detail, the lead-coated copper flashing here that's covering the top edge of the crown molding. This is about a 5 5/8 PVC crown. Again, this is all Versatech product, very low maintenance product, right? We're not going to be painting this. We'll fill some of the nail holes and make this look really nice towards exterior punch list. But this is essentially the detail here that's making this flare detail and this banding that runs horizontally around the whole home here. So essentially what's going to happen here for the finish, a visual for the finished product, is, typically we have 2 shingles as our starter row here, and that's going to overhang the flashing detail on the end by about yay so. And then, these get nailed down, which kind of suck them in to start to make this contour. And then depending on what we're going to expose the shingles to the weather here, say it's 4.5, 5 inches to the weather. So this looks like we're probably about 4.5 here. There's your second course. This gets nailed in. Again, it gets sucked down and we start to get this nice flare detail. So that's what that will look like all the way around the house. And again, we can't start this work until the crown is done, the flashing is on, and then we can start our shingle detail. And I will note that we'll be putting a flashing tape over the top of this copper flashing here between this and our ice and water shield. So that's the detail. As I said, it's going to wrap around the whole house, and when this is done, it's going to look fantastic. So before we get off the staging, one other detail I want to show you that's underneath this soffit that relates to this upper balcony. So this upper balcony, if you remember in the previous episodes, is a floating deck system, and all of the water comes to this front edge, right? So that whole deck system underneath the decking where we've installed the rubber membrane pitches this way to the whole front edge of this deck system, this balcony system. That water needs a place to go, right? We've got these knee walls wrapping around all 3 sides of the balcony deck. So instead of having individual scuppers up here, essentially this is one big scupper end to end, basically a big slot drain, if you will, to allow that water that's collecting on that deck to escape and that water is going down into basically an internal gutter system here that we created. And then that water is coming out a slot here in the soffit. So let's take a quick look at that. You can see this material right here. This is called core event. Basically what this is doing is it's allowing the water to pass through it, but it's also preventing bugs and bees and hornets and things like that from getting up there and nesting and so forth. Otherwise we would have just left this open as a big slot drain, but we want to make sure that we're not inviting bugs to nestle and find a home up in there. So that water is going to come out of the core event. Then we installed this aluminum flashing detail, what we call a kicker. So that's going to literally kick the water out away from our fascia board here. Our gutter is going to sit tight to this board and tuck in underneath the kicker, which will allow that water to easily collect in the gutter system, which will be pitched down to a few downspouts here that will be attached to these columns. The water is going to go down the downspouts and out and away from the house. So nice little detail there. All right, guys, well, we are finally underway with our Cedar shake shingle work here on the project, which is really exciting because we've been waiting nearly 6 months for shingles. But this actually isn't the shingle we've been waiting for. We had to call an audible. We had to get the siding going on the project. We had to get the house covered up. So our client has reselected and has gone with this pre-dipped product here by SBC. This is an Eastern White Cedar shingle with a formulated stain on it. It's going to allow this product to weather evenly. The shingle we wanted actually looks just like this top section. This is called the clear, so no stain, no treatment, just natural wood that weathers naturally with its environment. Those products, and that Cedar shake rather, is still not available right now through many vendors that we use. So, but you'll notice here we've got kind of this hybrid situation going on, right? We've got our zip system, which in itself is an all-in-one WRB, right? Our waterproof, our air barrier. But because we have been waiting for shingles so long, the exposure of that zip system now is just past its warranty point. So in talking with the technical department at Huber Engineered Woods, who makes zip system, they said in order to keep the warranty, we need to cover it with the Hydro Gap here. Now this is a product by Benjamin Obdyke. It's basically an advanced house wrap system, but you'll see it's got these blue dots on it in this kind of S wave pattern. These are basically compression resistant spacers that allow the shingles to be applied and provide a space behind it for water and moisture to drain out and to dry. So this product right here is going to allow 100 times more bulk water management, and it's going to drain 2 times faster than a standard house wrap. So we're still getting a bit of our drainage properties that we need with installing the shingle here. So a little bit of extra step to apply this product over the zip system, but so be it. That's what we need to do. Is warranty of the product is obviously very important here. So a couple things I will just quickly point out. We have all weaved corners here. So the outside corners, inside corners are all weaved. And you can see the guys are starting to do that here. We want to make sure that the spacing of the shingles is per the manufacturer. In fact, right on top of this box, it tells us installation instructions, and it tells us an 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch spacing. And then it reminds us that there's 2 different textures to the shingle. There's a smooth and a rough texture. So when we're pulling the shingles out, we want to make sure if we're choosing smooth, that we're looking at each shingle and making sure we have smooth side out. And we're also making sure that we're providing the spacing that the manufacturer suggests. And the reason for that is as these shingles get wet, wood expands. If the shingles are too tight, if these were abutting each other and the shingle gets wet, these shingles tend to cup, right? They belly outward and sometimes can cause them to split and fail. So we want to make sure we're following the instructions on that. One other thing to note is nailing, right? We want to make sure that our nails aren't too far in from the edge of the shingle and also not too close. Too far in is going to allow that shingle to cup outwards. Too close is going to potentially cause the shingle to crack along that edge. And then lastly, our joint spacing from one course to the next. We want to make sure that we have a good overlap on that. So I'd like to tell the guys at least 1 inch from the previous vertical joint to the vertical joint on the course below. So we're down in the basement now. It's the walkout basement. We've got the grade on 2 sides here, so that's why we have a door and some windows, let some nice light into the space. But this space wasn't going to be finished. So this is added scope for us now. You can see the framing behind me. We've got some wall partitions up. We've got a bathroom. This big space here will be the rec area, if you will. Some storage space, our mechanical room, and some more storage over on the other side of the basement here. All of our framing is now done. You can see all of our ductwork, line sets for the HVAC and so forth. Everything's boxed out, softened out. So framing is done now on all 3 levels here and the 2 levels above, which means we can finally start our electrical rough-in, right? This is something we've been antsy to get going on. It's been delayed because an interior designer was brought on in the middle of the project. That's taken her a little bit of time to get caught up and to work with our client and our team on developing the RCP, the reflective ceiling plan. That's our lighting plan showing recessed lights, surface mount lights, and all the switching and everything for the electrical scope. So now that we have that, we've queued up the electrician who's starting in a few days. And then he can get caught up because our plumbing and our HVAC mechanical is already done and roughed in. So once we get this electrical work done, we can move on to insulation and wallboard and plaster. But thinking and talking about electrical, you might be wondering, how does the island get its power? Well, let's go meet with Dan, my project manager, who's going to give us a little history lesson on that.
My name is Dan McLaughlin. I'm a project manager for WKP Construction. Before that, I ran my own construction company in mainland Rhode Island and here on Block Island for about 25 years. Back before 2015-16, whenever the windmills came online, we had diesel-powered generators here. The oil to run the generators came from the mainland on the ferry in tanker trucks. The cost of the fuel was very expensive, and it fluctuated with the oil market, just like home heating oil. Now we have a reliable, independent source of electricity, and we produce, as an island, we produce more electricity than we consume, and we send power to the mainland. I think it was about a 5-year permitting process where they had to get all of the people involved, the fishermen that use the water out where the windmills are, and there was a huge bird study that went on that took place a lot up by the lighthouse where you were earlier to see how the windmills might affect the migratory birds and also the whales and fish. They found, since the turbines have been here, that the birds don't seem to be affected, and they're natural reefs. And fishermen love them. There's all kinds of fish teeming out there right by the windmills. The 5 bases for the 5 windmills are designed like oil rigs, and they were built in Houma, Louisiana, and trucked up or floated up here from Louisiana. So there's a cable that runs from the windmills to the island, and the island is sort of a hub or a junction. And then there's another cable that runs from the power company here all the way to the beach in Narragansett, and that's where it hooks up to National Grid. And that's how we get power in both directions. One of the biggest things that we've never had a reliable internet service here, and the island is waiting for the FiOS to be hooked up. Right now it's hooked up at the police station and the school and the medical center and the library. Hopefully sometime this summer it's going to start to come online island-wide, which is going to be have a huge impact for the economy out here. Yeah.
Does that worry the locals that that's going to bring more people out here, more long-term, because now in a day where people are working remote, that they can come out here and work remote because they have reliable internet? Yeah,
it's exactly what's going on, and there's a lot of people that can sort of build their lifestyle around being here that could never do it before. That's sort of and those people are buying houses and driving up the cost of living here, and that's sort of the bad side of the internet. But the good side is for other businesses that you know, the world is cloud-based now, and you know, right now you got to use use a satellite dish or a hotspot, and they're really not that reliable as a real line. So.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Really interesting history there from Dan on that old power grid system and how the new turbines have impacted life here on the island. Stay tuned as we continue to progress through this project. Like I said earlier, we've got electrical starting very soon. We've got our stone veneer starting soon. Shingling on the exterior is going to continue. We just got approval from DEM on our septic, so that's in the queue to start soon. And then we get to move on towards insulation and wallboard, interior finishes, custom cabinetry, a lot of good stuff coming. Stay tuned. Until then, I'm Wade Paquin with Building on an Island.